My name is Esther.
Why don't you join the party?
I've never really seen the point of it. I guess I'm different.
And pour the pine sol into her coffee. She just says blatantly, plainly, no emotion, I'm trying to kill you.
You are an evil psychopath demon child that's come over here to murder everybody.
Oh my.
She began to attempt to harm my sons in a very serious manner.
Oh my.
I have a surprise for you, Mommy.
Evil dwarfs is gonna like pop up and poison their coffee or stab them in their sleep.
Oh my.
Are you a 33-year-old scam artist?
No. 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 I promise you I'm not.
Hello and welcome back to the Serbian internet. Today we're going to be talking about The Orphan.
And we're also going to be talking about, it kind of dovetails into a true life case of Natalia Grace Barnett, who was accused of being a full-grown woman impersonating a child in order to scam and possibly murder an entire family. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first we got to talk about the movie Orphan.
My name is Dr. Varava. I'm calling from the CERN Institute.
I don't understand. How come they have no record of her being there?
There has to be some explanation.
The orphanage has never heard of her.
The movie Orphan, yes, is starring Vera Farmiga. She plays the mother. Basically focuses around the mother and the adopted daughter's relationship. That's the whole thing. And the orphan really is the star of the movie.
Yes.
That's very much so. It only revolves around
creepy.
those two. The other characters, they're intermittent in between, but that's just so the orphan could kill them.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes. So the setup for the movie is the lady from The Departed, who was Ben Affleck's police shrink girlfriend,
And DiCaprio's.
yes, side girl,
Yeah.
is she's looking to adopt a new member of the family, her and her husband, because she had a miscarriage.
Yeah, she had a miscarriage.
Yes.
They said she was. Well, she wrote in her diary that this is the worst torture she felt for like 16 days or something.
Yes.
That she had phantom fetal movement.
Yes.
Like when someone cuts your hand off and you still think your hand's there, you still feel your hand.
Yeah,
That's what she said would happen to her.
It's pretty bad.
So they decided to adopt a baby.
Yeah.
This is the orphan, Esther.
So they go to the orphanage. They meet Esther, and she seems to be a very smart and talented young girl.
Like
And,
way too smart.
Way too smart. Yeah.
Like she's alone, dressed prim and proper, painting by herself in a room, and tells a whole story about how a family comes together and a lioness loses her cubs, and they all get back together after the rainstorm, something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was just more foreshadowing about what's going to go down.
And of course, this is a Catholic orphanage, and CCH Pounder from The Shield. I love CCH Pounder, by the way. CCH Pounder plays the nun or the sister who's in charge, and she's like, "Oh, this is great! We finally found a family for Esther, and the family seems like they're really taken with this young girl, and she's very happy for him, and sends her off with her good graces to go hopefully live a nice, healthy life. But it doesn't quite turn out like that, right? Cracks start forming pretty quickly.
Yes, but when she leave the orphanage has no background information on Esther at all.
Yes.
So they don't know where she came from, what's going on, anything. They just believe that she's an orphan child.
Yes.
Unknown parents, something. I have no idea. But they take her home, and she's making a big deal about the piano. She's like, "Oh, you have a piano?" And she's like, "Oh, would you like to learn to play?" And she's like, "Yes, I love it." Something like that. Turns out she already knows how to play the piano.
And as I almost said, Goodwill Hunting. And the Depardio, Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend from The Departed, when she finds out that she's actually very skilled at playing the piano, she confronts her and says, like, "Why did you have me teach you piano lessons if you already knew?" And Esther says something to the effect, like, "I thought it would make you feel good." Something to that effect, right?
No, she says a really evil thing to her.
What did she say? I've only seen the movie once.
She said, I thought it would make you feel good because you have a deaf daughter who can't hear, so she can't play piano, and you have a son that's just not interested. And it's like, this digs her good. It like gets her real good. She sells it. And I'm like, damn, dude, that was an evil thing to say to that lady.
That is true. Now, who did you say the actress was, the young girl who played Esther? Because she did a good job.
I don't know her name, but there's a sequel coming.
What?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, not with her, though.
She's in the
It'd
movie
be like
somehow.
American Psycho.
Maybe she plays the mom in the newer one or something, or something strange. I don't know what's going on, but there's an orphan one it's in the works, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. Interesting. I'll keep my eyes peeled for that. So the movie progresses. Now, when she first meets her new foster family, the young brother, or her new young brother, immediately dislikes her or distrusts her. And he's right, by the way. He comes off as sort of a jerk in the beginning because at the time you don't notice she's a psycho. And he
just at the dinner table.
Yeah, at the dinner table. Just refuses to accept it. This is my sister.
Can't you eat like a normal person? She's prim and proper again. Knife and fork, cutting everything. Very methodical.
Like Hannibal Lecter.
A little bit.
She eats like Hannibal Lecter.
A little bit. It's like, could you eat like I am eating like a normal person.
Yeah.
He's like, maybe if you're from Transylvania, the kid says.
Yes, and then she schools him on the correct location of Transylvania and how she's actually from the Ukraine or something, or Romania?
No, she said Transylvania is part of Romania. Then she lets him know that she knows more than he does.
Yes.
And the parents are like, well, just be nice to your sister or whatever. And the kid's like,
it's not my sister!
No, he said it's not my fucking sister.
Yeah, he does say that.
Right at the table.
Yes, a lot of F-bomb droppings. There.
This leads to something that comes up later in the movie. With that, he's punished, and he can't use the treehouse, the clubhouse. It's locked up.
Yes.
Dad takes the key, locks up the clubhouse until he apologizes to his sister.
Yes.
So he can't get in there. And later on in the movie, Esther runs around and she finds the key. But this is after, this was before?
Well,
it's before CCH Pounder?
The part that I remember with the treehouse is, okay, so the other child in the family is a deaf girl.
Yeah, a young deaf girl.
And she's very impressionable, and she's very happy to have a sister, right? Not only did she get a sister, but she got a sister who practiced sign language so she could communicate with her. So she's like, oh man, this is great. She's happy as hell. So she is able to be manipulated by Esther. As the movie goes on, Esther starts doing more and more evil stuff, and then she starts getting more vindictive towards her other family members, the mother, the father, the brother, and she wants to do these evil things. And
there's things that she just out of nowhere was like flat out could have been murder.
Yes.
Easily.
The girl at the school.
Not even plotting. Yeah. Well, she pushes the little deaf girl right in front of the car.
Yeah, so let's rewind a little bit. So the first time I remember her acting out, there was a girl at school that was picking on her. She's a new girl at school. She's got an accent. She's weird. She dresses different. So the girls are picking on her, right?
She tried to pull a collar off.
She has a collar on her neck.
She wears a collar around her neck through the whole movie, and the girl tried to pull it off, and Esther flips out.
Yes,
screaming, a whole big thing right in school. Then she remembers her, says she's going to get her.
Yeah.
And so when they did this playground sequence, and it was hilarious because the way that they shot it was like your typical haunted house movie. How you would shoot like the characters going through a haunted house or a place where a serial killer's on the loose, whatever, right? So they're going through the playground where there's children playing on it, and then there's a lot of jump scares where this girl's like traveling through she's going across the bridge, going past the slide.
It's like one of the wood log, like complete set things you would find in like a large playground in a community.
And they're doing the kids.
There's little cubby holes and little spots you can sit in.
Yeah.
And there's a slide and there's a little bridge.
And the kids would like jump out every now and then, and that'd be like a jump scare. And then she gets to where the slide is. So her whole thing was she just wanted to go down the slide, but they made it seem like she was walking through a house of horrors, right? She gets to the slide finally.
They did it well. They did that well. This is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheapy. It wasn't cheesy. It was actually done pretty well.
And she gets to the slide, and then Esther jumps out and then, runs into her, pushes her off the slide. She falls down. She doesn't slide down. She falls down, bangs herself on the slide. She's laying on the ground.
And that was like the first instance where we see Esther like really lashing out. The next time you're talking about when the sister comes by. So as the movie goes on, from that point, there's more and more behavioral problems. And then the sister comes by because I think she had some new information that she just found out about her origin. Correct?
Well, she wanted medical stuff. They said she didn't want her.
Yes.
The girl didn't want to go to the dentist because her teeth would identify her as much older.
Yes,
She'd
yes.
have wisdom teeth and all that stuff.
And the mother was also having problems with Esther at the time.
Yeah, we got to go back to something. The miscarriage is baby Jessica.
Baby Jessica?
Well, no, not the baby Jessica. Baby, the name of the baby was Jessica in the movie.
Okay, all right. Oh my
Didn't go down
God.
a well.
All right. Okay.
That's a whole different story. So she had the baby, and they took the ashes and they put it in the greenhouse.
Yes.
And she planted roses, white roses, and she's like, Jessica will always be with us as long as we have this plant and whatever. That is an important part of the story because
later on, the father says, "Why don't you go do something nice for your mother?"
Yeah. So she knows what the flowers and everything mean to her. So she just cuts up all the flowers and says, "I've got these for you."
Yes. And then the mother like grabs her arm.
Yes.
And doesn't grab her arm hard enough to hurt her. Just grabs her arm, like a mother would grab her daughter's arm when she did something wrong. And then Esther throws a very dramatic fit. And then later on, she goes and gets a vice, puts her arm in a vice, and breaks her own arm, and then crawls back into bed, and then screams for puppy, puppy, puppy. And then Dad runs in. What's up?
Well, no, she puts her arm in a vice.
Yeah.
And then she had a screwdriver, and she like wraps a towel or a cloth on it and sticks it in her mouth and tightens the vice down until her arm cracks.
Yes.
These are the special abilities of Esther.
Yes. Crawls back
This is
into
what
bed.
separates her from the rest.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
And then she crawls back into bed, and she calls for Papi. Papi comes in, and then she's like, "Oh, Mama, look what Mama did to me." And then, so then, of course, the dad just automatically believes Esther and then says, "Esther's sleeping in our room tonight. You can go sleep downstairs with the dogs." And then closes the door on her.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, CCH Pounder comes by.
I don't care how right you think you are. I don't care what kind of bad life you had. What you did was wrong. It's as wrong as it gets.
And then this is the part you're talking about, where the pushing of the deaf girl and all that stuff. So
she's like, it's not even a clear plan, Esther. It's just havoc.
Well, the reason why though. So CCH Pounder's down there, and then Esther asks the deaf girl, says, "What are they talking about?" And the deaf girl is listening in and then signing to Esther, saying,
talking about you.
They're talking about you and your problems and all this stuff or whatever. And Esther's thinking, "Oh, CCH Pounder is here to take me away, trying to get me in trouble, and I can't let that happen. So you, my little sister, you're going to help me, right?" And then what do they go do?
They go down to near the bridge. There's a little bridge. It's snowy out, so icy roads and bad conditions.
Yes.
They come down there, and they're waiting for the car to come.
CCH Pounder's car.
Yeah, I don't remember how they got her, though.
So CCH Pounder's leaving their house and returning back to the orphanage, and she goes to light up a cigarette. She takes her eyes off the road momentarily, and then she's coming near the bridge. That's where the children are. They're hiding right behind.
Yeah, they're hiding right behind.
And what happens?
I don't remember why she stops.
No, she doesn't stop. She's driving the car. CCH Pounder goes.
That's what I'm saying. I can't remember.
She leans over. She's distracted. She's getting a cigarette. She's not looking at the road. And then Esther pushes the deaf girl in front of her car.
Yeah.
And then the car, and she goes falling on the road, and then CCH Pounder sees her just in the nick of time.
And then just skids out on the side of the road.
Skids out on the side
And she gets
of the
out to
road.
check if the kid's okay.
And then as she's checking on the little deaf girl, what does Esther do? Because it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, Esther smashes her head with a hammer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Marilyn Manson wanted to do to Evan Rachel Woods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but she was still alive. So like, oh, that's good enough now. She started crawling away, and Esther had to hit her like 12 more times.
Yeah.
With a hammer.
Oh, brutalized.
So she she got it rough.
And then she said to the little girl, she said something like, "You and me, we are both in the same trouble. You help me drag this body, or else I'll kill you too." Something to that effect. Yeah. And then
she does threaten the the deaf girl
she puts a gun to her head. That's right. She puts a gun to her head.
Yeah, they go in a safe. That's how they get the key. For the,
yes.
They get the father's keys. The key to the safe.
I jumped ahead a little bit. So the end of that sequence though is that she threatened a little girl, and she had to help her drag the dead body of the nun off the road, and then the part you're talking about comes up.
Yeah. Then they hide the evidence in the treehouse.
Yes. And in order to get to the treehouse, they, like you said, they had to go fetch the keys
They had to
that
get
were
the
hidden by
father's
the
keys.
father.
Yeah.
And then once they got that,
with that, she opened the safe, and there's a gun in there.
Yeah. So she gets the gun and holds it to the little deaf girl's head.
Yeah, she puts one bullet in it and spins it like Russian roulette, and it's like, you want to play?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
The little deaf girl didn't want to play. She's like, nah.
She's like, that's probably not a good idea.
But these are the games we play in Serbian orphanage. So anyway, the little brother is spying on them as they are hiding the evidence in the treehouse, and then Esther catches a glimpse of him. He's behind this boulder, and he thinks he gets away with it, so he ducks his head down, and then he later goes back to the treehouse to see just exactly what were they doing up there.
He didn't find anything, though, right?
Nah, he's looking around. I don't think he found the evidence, but
because he asked the deaf girl later. It's like, do you know where is it? She drew the picture.
Yeah.
The little deaf girl.
Yeah.
And he's like, is it still in the treehouse? Then but Esther finds out about this, I guess. And she goes in his room at night, right next to his bed, and is telling him he's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
And
puts a knife to his throat.
Yeah. And he's like, then she's like, I'll cut your little.
What did you see?
She said, I'll cut your little prick off.
Yes.
He tapped him right on his thing. I'll cut your little prick off.
Yes.
Like I said, that's pretty serious stuff right there.
And she's supposed to be like a 9-year-old girl, right?
Kind of like some other ladies that do some stuff.
Yes, it ties all right into Lorena
always comes back around.
And all the lovely ladies of the last episode.
Yeah,
well,
it always comes back around a lot. I don't understand how that keeps happening, but it does keep happening.
If I find out that you're lying, I'll cut your hairless little prick off before you even figure out what it's for.
Later on, the tensions continue to escalate to the point where the mother now is told by the husband, look, you're just crazy, you're out of control, you broke the girl's arm, doodly-doo, you're out of here, that kind of nonsense.
And she's a former alcoholic as well. They find the wine bottles.
Yes, yeah.
She was going to drink. She's getting all stressed out. She chose not to drink. She poured out the whole wine bottle. She didn't drink. But now the husband doesn't believe her.
No, she believes the little orphan girl from Serbia.
Yeah.
The little Serbian orphan girl, right? So, anyway, then the brother sneaks into the treehouse to find out exactly what they were up to previously in the treehouse. So he's looking around for whatever. And then Esther appears behind him and says something like, "Oh, you're looking for this," and she has all the evidence in the book bag of the bloody rags and the hammer, the bloody hammer, and all that stuff.
Clothes with her blood on it.
So
the gun, right? The gun and
the gun, all that, whatever. But she has all
the
the stuff for the murder. And then she takes lighter fluid and she starts spraying it all over the evidence bag and then all over the tree fort as she's talking to the brother about blah blah blah. Nobody's gonna ever find this stuff. And then she lights a match. She leaves the tree house for the brother to burn to death, right? Yeah. And she's watching from down in the snow with a smile on her face. The brother manages to escape the fiery wreckage of the treehouse, and he falls out of the tree and he's hurt pretty bad.
He's unconscious. They said he had a neck injury.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
And then she goes over to finish him off. But luckily, the mother comes running over because she saw the fire from her window or something. And she came over, and the kid's in the hospital now. What happens in the hospital when the grandmother was watching Esther
and the father told Esther, stay with grandmom.
Yeah, they
what
want her to go nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, you don't go nowhere.
Yeah, what happened?
She's like, I want $1 for a soda. And the grandmother's like, no. They said you can't go anywhere. You're supposed to stay here. So I guess he gives her fake Serbian puppy eyes. And she's like, oh, here you go. And she goes down. She does get a soda.
She does get a soda.
Which is really pretty tricky for this little girl. Yeah. But she goes into the room and tries to pillow kill the brother.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's
all of his vital signs go flatline.
Yeah. She takes the pulse monitor off of his finger, puts it on her finger, and then there you have it.
Yeah.
And then puts it back on his when it goes flatline.
Correct. So then the mother, she sees everybody scrambling to her son's room, all the hospital staff, and she's running in tow. And then she sees Esther, and she's like, what did you do? What did you do? And starts attacking Esther. I think she backhands her, right? And she goes flying.
Hey, what are you doing, you bitch? Stop! Orly! Orly! Trying to kill my
Yeah, she smacks her. I'm pretty sure she hits her. I think it's
and then
just
she starts
slap.
going puppy, puppy, puppy. The hospital staff, when she was wailing on Esther, they came up and stuck a needle in her, and she went, eh. All right, so we're up to the part. The mother got sedated in the hospital.
Yes, after the attack on Esther.
And what happens?
Esther's at home with the father and the deaf girl.
Okay.
And that's when she tries to seduce the older man.
And it's oh God, Jesus.
So the father's just sitting on the couch, just getting hammered.
Yes,
he's just getting hammered.
Yeah.
They didn't show anything like Esther had put anything in the drinks or anything. But,
it came across like he was
drugged. It seemed like he was drugged, but they didn't show anything like that he was drugged in the movie.
Yeah.
But so you just, assume he's just getting hammered.
Yeah.
And Esther comes down in all new black dress. She pulls it out like she's getting dressed for like an event to go out to. I don't know, a big anniversary party or a wedding or something.
Yeah, it looked like a low cut dress and all that. Right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Still has a collar on her neck.
Yep.
Yeah. So she comes down. She's like, "I love you, Daddy."
Yes.
And kisses him once. And she says, "I really love you, Daddy."
So he's so drunk that when she starts kissing him, at first he's just like, kind of thinks it's a little odd, but not. He doesn't read too much into it because it comes off as a little bit innocent at first, and I think that's the way.
Yeah, it does come off innocent at first, and it gets a little bit weirder, and then a little bit weirder.
Yes.
And then a hand starts going down towards someone's crotch region.
Yes. And then he jumps up like, yo, what in the hell are you doing? Do not do that. Go to your room, little girl. And then she gets really angry about that.
Oh, yeah, she does.
How angry does she get, Matt?
She's pretty angry. She goes upstairs and freaks out and starts pulling on her hair and rubbing things on her face, pulling her fake teeth out. And this is when you find out, like, what is going on with this little girl? What is this all about?
And it turns out that she...
At this time, the phone call comes from the Sarn Mental Hospital in southern Russia somewhere.
Serbia. It's all Serbia.
Sure, it's all Serbia. It's all the same place. And she's like, they tell them, like, oh, the little girl? They're like, that's not a little girl. That's a mental patient. She was here for 16 years, something.
Yes.
And then you find out she has a dwarfism. She has an odd dwarfism disease that makes her appear like a child.
And she has murdered her previous family.
Yes,
she made advances on the father, and when the father refused, as punishment, she murdered the father, the mother, and the children. You must get out of there. You must get away from this girl as soon as possible.
Esther has pictures of the former father victims in this. In the they have, I guess it's a Bible.
Yeah.
From the Sarn place, but Yeah, so she gets really angry. She goes downstairs and murders the dad.
Well, before that happened, though, the father did go up to the room looking for her, and she wasn't there. And she's got like a black light in the room, I think for the fish aquarium or something like that.
Looks like Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah, so there's a black light there, and I think it's for the aquarium. And then when you turn the black light on, it illuminates hidden paintings on the wall, where if you see it without the black light, they look like happy paintings of like a house and a field and people or whatever. But then when you turn the black light on, you see the other part of the painting, which is fire and blood and knives and daggers and
But it
guns.
looks like a building that was set on fire.
Yes.
And people are getting killed inside at the same time or something like that. 'Cause they're very strange pictures.
Correct.
But, and one of the pictures is her having sex with the dad. She painted that on the wall twice in two different spots.
Big, gigantic, like life size, like
they were like 5 feet tall or so. So noticeable. It's definitely noticeable.
Yeah. So the the stepfather discovers this, and then he gets attacked by Esther with, I believe, a knife. Correct?
Yeah.
And Esther just plunges that knife into his chest like 30 times. I mean, at first, when she first starts stabbing him, you think like, okay, he's going to get a few hits, and then he's going to like maybe grab her arm and throw her off and kind of stagger away wounded and maybe escape or maybe slump over and we think he's dead. No, they ensure with her brutal attack that you know that this guy is just dead and he is not coming back. She stabs him like 30 times in one spot and just digs a big hole right into the center of his chest. It's disgusting, dude. But he's done. He's done. And I think the little deaf girl witnessed this happening, correct?
Yeah. Well, she sees at the end. Yeah, she sees the end of it.
Yeah, she sees the end of the attack.
That's when she runs away at the bottom of the staircase.
So she runs
away, and I think she runs to get the gun.
Yes, and then this is the same time that the mother who had just gotten a phone call from the Serbian Mental Institute or whatever, she finally arrives at the house, and then she's like trying to save her daughter from Esther,
and she drives right through the house.
Oh God, like Betty
right
Broderick.
into the house. Yes, just like Betty Broderick.
Yes. So now the mother's in the house, and she's trying to save her daughter, and her daughter's in a nice little hiding spot. You stay there, and now Esther has the pistol, and she's starting to take shots at everybody. Now, what happens next?
Yeah, the mom's on top of the greenhouse.
Yes.
Esther takes a shot at her on top of the greenhouse, and she's running around still looking for the deaf kid.
Yeah.
And Vera Farmiga goes through the glass on top of Esther. And she tells the girl, I think the little girl, the deaf girl, runs away towards the woods, and she's pursuing her.
Yeah.
And Vera Farmiga follows out to a pond, a frozen over pond.
Yes.
And again, she falls into falls downhill, hits her head on the ice. She's out for a second.
Yeah.
And then the battle begins. The Battle of Esther begins.
The battle does begin. Now, as they're having this fight on the ice, there's a lot of quick cuts. Okay, so you don't really get the clearest of looks at Esther anymore. By this point, the revelation has already been made by the phone call that she's actually a full-grown woman with a severe dwarfism disease that makes her appear as a child, yada, yada, yada. We also had the scene that you were describing earlier where she was like taking all of her fake teeth out, everything that she was wearing that would make her
to
look
conceal her real age.
Yeah. So now she appears to be an older woman, right? But the way that they do it, now we kind of have a disagreement about this. When I watched the movie, I clearly saw a woman playing the part of this new Esther, the undisguised Esther, that was much taller than the real actress who played Esther for the entire movie. Now, the real actress who played Esther for the entire movie was actually like about 10 years old when they shot this movie, right?
Yeah, sure. Very accurate to the age.
Yeah.
It's right around the same age.
And during this fight sequence, you never get a clear, stable shot, really, of the actress who is now playing the undisguised Esther. She's rolling around with the mother on the ice. They got a knife. And in one hand, body parts are flailing back and forth, obscuring, a clear view. They're falling into the ice. Now they're in the water. It's dark outside. They're fighting. They're struggling. There's bubbles coming up in the water. All this stuff, right? You never really get a clear look. until she emerges from the hole in the ice pond.
This would be the end of the movie.
Yeah, they're hanging. The mother's like trying to pull herself out, and then Esther comes up behind her and is like says something like, "Don't leave me to die, mommy," or something like to that effect. But her hair's so wet and it's hanging over half of her face. Again, it's still dark, and I'm looking at this girl and I'm seeing a stunt woman who that they dressed up to look like Esther, kind of, but does. And then they use the actress who played Esther and did some ADR. And that is how I saw it. You didn't see it like that. What'd you say?
I don't think they can get away with that.
So how did you feel that they shot that final play sequence? Well, you had a theory about it. You told me about it.
I thought that they intermittently used on and off and edited together. That the physical stuff, larger, all the stuff that's physical stuff, larger and not close-ups, was all done with the stunt woman. And then face shots were done with the younger actor.
Yes. So there's only one way to solve this, and that's to show a clip of that fight sequence so you can figure it out on your own and come up with your own decision.
Get off my plane.
That was the Orphan Movie, which is very interesting because when you told me about this movie, and you told me about the Orphan Movie, and you told me about the real life case of Natalia Grace Barnett, who actually...
I don't really know much about this.
Yeah.
I heard about this on another podcast.
Yeah. So it was very interesting when you said, yeah, it's kind of almost the same thing in a way. Now, there wasn't a bunch of grisly murders, but there was allegations that there could have been some grisly murders.
When I woke up in the middle of the night and Natalia was standing over my bed with a knife in her hand.
So basically, the real life case was there was another family There was a family in real life who adopted foster children. Okay. And they found this Romanian girl named Natalia who was supposed to be around like 8 years old. And is supposedly born in 2003. And they adopted her from that's a Romanian. That's from the last movie. Transylvania is actually in Romania. Ukrainian girl. Okay. So Natalia Grace Barnett. Natalia Grace was a Ukrainian girl. And she had a rare form of dwarfism. Okay. Which was similar to what they were saying the character of Esther had in the movie Orphan. They adopt her. They were told she's going to need special medical procedures because of her condition. And they're like, that's fine, not a problem, right?
Yeah, doctor has to go and break her little dwarf legs. And then straighten them out so they're not all bowed out and crooked.
And other procedures.
Maybe break some more bones, little dwarf bones. Probably use a little hammer. A small hammer.
The point is, there were special procedures that they would need to make sure she gets because of the special condition that she suffers from.
About her unfortunate condition. Esther can't even say she.
So here's how this all went down in real life. In real life, they adopted her. Everything seemed to be going along fine until they started getting suspicions that I don't think that she really is an 8-year-old girl. I think that she's a full-grown adult. We should go take her to a laboratory and get tested because this is what all people who adopt orphans do. They adopt orphans and then they start taking them to laboratories to get like bone analysis done to see, hey, is this really the bone structure of a 8-year-old? Like, nobody does this. And you're like, well, why did they do it? Okay, well, they had to take her to a medical treatment. The first of what was going to be many medical treatments that they were told must be done. There's actually kind of like a prescribed calendar of when these procedures need to be done because of, a young child growing. Certain things need to be done at certain years. If they aren't done and you get into full-on puberty and adulthood, it's like, it's too late. That had to have been taken care of earlier. So, to one of the first treatments. Allegedly, it was very expensive, and there's more treatments that were needed. And because of this, there's a possibility that they're like, honey, I think we made a mistake agreeing to adopt this child. And this is alleged, right? This is like my little theory. So I'm thinking that they're like, how do we get out of this? Well, what if we can get a court or a laboratory or whatever to say that she's actually not a child after all. She's a full-grown adult, so she's responsible for her own medical care. That's my theory. I think that's really what happened, right? They saw the medical bills that they would have to pay for, and they said, no. So this is like the only way they could get out of it. Now, what they allege is that she was a full-grown woman based upon the laboratory that they went to claimed that she was 22 years old and not 8 years old. And they said, well, here's an apartment. We're moving to Canada. You can have this apartment right here. And good luck, but we got, it's on you now. They later got arrested for child neglect because they're like, you left a 6-year-old girl or an 8-year-old girl, I think it's an 8-year-old girl, whatever, alone in an apartment to fend for herself.
That's pretty wild. That's some pretty wild stuff. That it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's an apartment. Later.
Yes. And then once the arrest happened, the stepfather is like, well, you don't know. She's so crazy. I remember she was saying how she's going to like kill us all and everything.
She attempted to kill Christine twice.
And then the mother was sitting there saying, she poisoned my coffee with, Windex. She put Windex in my coffee, and I went to go drink my coffee, and I could taste it. I could taste the Windex. I said, did you put something in my coffee? He's like, yes, I put Windex in it. I'm like, why would you do this? I'm trying to kill you, mother.
She had poured the pine sol into her coffee. She just says blatantly, plainly, no emotion, I'm trying to kill you.
Now, the thing is, this movie, Orphan, came out prior to them adopting. So my other theory is that they both sat down and saw Orphan on Netflix by happenstance, and this is where the genesis of the idea of, hey, let's get a laboratory to do a test to see if she's actually an adult posing as a child, right? And then we'll go from there. I think that they Netflix the damn Orphan movie and then said, this is what we'll do. And then we'll convince everybody.
That's our defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Our legal defense for abandoning a child.
Correct. So Natalia Grace Barnett, since all this started going to trial,
didn't you say she tried to do some Macaulay Culkin action, like putting stuff on the stairs and?
Oh, the father at one point said in an interview that you don't know how crazy she is. I was going downstairs one time, and there was all these tacks with the pointy side facing up, so you'd step on them, and they'd stick in your feet, and she had them all over the stairs, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm trying to kill you, Papa. And it's just so crazy. So they go to court about this, and as part of this trial, there's another, I apologize. Before they go to trial, she gets adopted by another family who believes that she's a child. And they say, well, this is nuts. We got to prove that you are actually born in 2003. And they supposedly track down the real birth mother in Ukraine. Okay. So they have a woman who's like, yes, I'm the one. I gave birth to her. I was told that she's going to have this crazy rare dwarfism that's going to be very expensive to take care of. So I gave her up for adoption, right? Now, my whole thing is this. If this was a scam in real life, in other words, they knew she was an adult and they pawned her off to this American family to adopt, even though they knew she was an adult. If it was a scam, then this could also be a scam where like, hey, we're going to pay you some money because we have people asking around. We have people asking things, get us in a lot of trouble. So we're going to pay you a bunch of money. Just pretend like you're this chick's mom. We'll forge up some documents. We've already paid off the people who are looking into it on our end. In other words, in Ukraine. We've already paid off the Ukrainian officials who are looking into our end to just acknowledge that these forged documents look legitimate to them. So all we need you to do is just go be the public face of this woman that we forged and just pretending you're the real birth mother and that she really was born in 2003. Or She could be telling the truth, and she really is a birth mother. And these parents did see the Orphan Movie, and they're just scumbags and fled to Canada, abandoned the kid because they don't want to pay for her medical treatment. So, her name is Natalia.
Natalia Grace Barnett.
She appeared on Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil said,
So I guess it comes down to whether or not you are an evil psychopath demon child that's come over here to murder everybody.
This is what Dr. Phil asked her, right? And then she, of course, said, yes, that is exactly what I am trying to do. You figured it out, Dr. Phil. You've cracked the case.
Oh, that's why he's a doctor.
That's correct. No, but she actually said, no, that's actually not what I'm doing. And she was very sad, and she broke down in tears, and she's crying her little eyes out.
Yeah, his little squinty eyes.
And so the end result is that the charges of neglect and all that nonsense, most of the charges got dropped against the previous foster parents.
You said it was only medical stuff, like
they're liable for the medical stuff.
Medical
yes, correct.
Treatments.
They're liable for the medical treatments. But all the other charges, they had 8 charges against them. 6 of the 8 charges got dropped, and that's probably going to be the end of that story. But very interesting, though, how it's like, the Orphan Movie you're telling me about, and then this real life case, and like it does make your mind wander into the dark territories, because you see the Orphan Movie and then you hear about this and you're like, I wonder if she really was posing as a child, and all that, and was going to kill him. I don't think so. What do you think?
I think it's that CERN thing when they tried to smash the matter together to make another black hole. They're changing dimensions around, stuff like that.
What?
So the movie is real life, the life is real movie, and all that stuff.
I must have missed this Stern thing? What is this Stern thing?
The CERN. The CERN.
The Hadron Collider or whatever?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, opening up black holes and stuff.
Okay. All right.
Interdimensional things.
Yes.
Changing the time-space continuum. I don't think it's true, but it could be.
I don't think
I doubt it.
I doubt that this is true. I actually do believe Natalia. I believe that she really was born in 2003. And I feel bad for her because, hey, luck of the draw, she got this family who decided, we're not going to give you the money for these. We're not going to pay for the prescribed medical treatments that you need to get. When you have these weird, I don't say, it's not really a disease, it's a condition, I guess. Whatever it is, maybe it is considered a disease. But when you have things like this with children, it does shorten their lifespan. And it definitely does affect her quality of life. I think they said something like she's not going to be independently mobile for a long time, like most of us are. For most people, it takes you until your elderly years where you start needing like walkers and canes and stuff like that, if you need them at all. But it's going to usually when you become a senior citizen, that's when that creeps in. For people with Natalia's condition, it happens a lot sooner, like maybe in your 20s and your 30s, right? So your quality of life.
That's probably why the procedures to make sure.
Correct.
Not curled up and crumpled over.
Yeah. And if you see her on Dr. Phil, and you'll see what she looked like as a younger girl, and then you see what she looks like on Dr. Phil, which is probably like 8 years afterwards, so she's 16 on the Dr. Phil episode. Mm-hmm. She was 8 years old around the time of the controversy. Anyway, when you see what she looks like on Dr. Phil, yes, the hunching. It looks like she is starting to hunch over and starting to lose some of that mobility. So it's just sad. It's just sad all around. But that's all I got to say.
Their joints break. Like Billy Barty, if you remember that guy.
No.
He was in Under the Rainbow with Chevy Chase.
Oh, my God.
It's a whole movie. It has a whole bunch of dwarfs in it.
Yeah. The poster was at Ruby Tuesdays.
Yes.
I've never seen the movie though. I just know the poster.
Showtime show.
Yeah.
John Byner's Showtime show. What was that called?
I can't remember
what it's called.
See, it's on the channel. I can't.
That's what it's called. Bizarre.
Okay.
Yeah. A John Byner comedy show.
Okay.
Super Dave Osborne. It's on that show.
All right.
And Billy Barty was one of the players on the show.
Yeah.
But his all his joints, his legs are all messed up.
Oh my God.
Just because of his dwarfism. So it's common.
All right. You got anything else you want to say about Orphan or Natalia?
No.
The dwarf? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that was another episode of
allegedly true crimes.
Allegedly true crimes. I think. No. It was shit.
Why are you in my house?
Oh, no. You know what? I don't think we had a name for this segment.
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. All right.